What if we had a hyper intelligent assistant capable of streamlining complex workflows efficiently, going beyond simply responding to our queries? Now, this question is always at the forefront of the strategic agenda of business leaders. This vision is becoming a reality with the arrival of the third wave of AI, the Agentic AI. Now, recognized by Gartner as one of the top 25 technology trends for 2025, Agentic AI is a significant leap forward, solves a multitude of complex tasks, makes nuanced decisions, and adapts autonomously on the scale. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dayalani. Now, built on the robust foundation of generative AI and LLMs, Agentic AI is changing the game by moving beyond instruction based tasks and responses to make complex decisions and predictions with control autonomy. But what makes it different and what's the future like? Let's welcome Sajan John, Senior Director Technology at Publicis Sapient. Hi Sajan, how are you doing?
Doing very good, Priya. Thank you so much for having me today.
Great. It's a pleasure to have you with us on a podcast today, Sajan. And of course, Agentic AI is definitely the hype that everybody is talking about. And, it's one of the most discussed topics amongst business leaders. And of course, we're going to talk more around it. But before that, we would like to know more about Publicis Sapient. So if you could help us understand more about the organization, its specialization, any particular solution the company is offering would be great.
Sounds good. So Publicis Sapient is a digital business transformation company, and we help large organizations and enterprises, especially in the industries such as financial services, retail, healthcare, energy and commodity, and travel, etc., to modernize how they operate and serve their customers in the digital age. So what makes us unique is our speed approach. Speed stands for strategy, product, engineering, experience, and data and AI. So think of it as our blueprint for transformation. So all these 5 capabilities working together rather than in silos, right? So this kind of helps us to help our clients adapt faster to market changes. So this end-to-end approach basically allows us to move faster, but also with a vision and a purpose that kind of get aligned with the organization or the enterprise strategy. And we don't just help clients to adopt the new technology, we basically help them completely reimagine their business model and their customer experiences. So for example, right, so when we apply AI to operationalize something or to improve their workflow, it's not just about automating that task, but we built an intelligent system that can be personalized experiences, make real-time decisions, and then create impact across the entire organization, while everything can be tracked and measured as well, right? So to summarize, PS, as we call it, or Publicis Sapient, brings together experts from different disciplines to drive outcomes that are fast, scalable, and future ready. And that's how we basically help our clients to stay ahead of the curve,
Right, and that's fascinating. Thank you for that comprehensive overview. And of course, it's always exciting to hear how organizations are carving out the niche and helping clients to stay ahead of the curve. And I'm sure Publicis there is definitely doing a great job. Moving ahead, we would also like to know more about you, Sajan. I mean, we would like to dig a little deeper into your personal journey within the organization and as well as outside the organization and the value you bring to this mission. So if you could help us, if you could tell us more about your role and contribution towards the company, how has your journey been till date, and what triggered your interest at Publicis?
Sure. So as a senior director of technology at Publicis Sapient, I wear a couple of important hats. And, I also come with around 21 places plus years of experience in the industry as a engineering and as a hands-on engineer for startups and mid-sized companies products, and then in the consulting space. So at Sapient, I lead engineering for some of our most complex healthcare programs for a client of ours. We are helping this particular client to modernize legacy systems using Gen AI, build secure and scalable digital platforms, and develop agentic workflows that streamline their day-to-day engineering operations to scale and operate faster, and also use AI to improve both patient and provider experiences on the consumer-facing side as well. On the second role within the company, I act as a mentor and coach within our Experience Engineering Center of Excellence. We call it as XE, focused on nurturing talents across web, mobile, and full stack development. I work closely with some of these engineers to drive best practices and instill a strong engineering mindset, which we internally call as 10x engineering behaviors, and ensure that we are building the future proof solution oriented engineering teams within the company. And then beyond delivery, I'm also involved in various Gen AI based proof of concepts, and especially around these agentic workflows right now, since it's a field that's going through massive updates, like literally on a weekly basis. So these early POCs and strong solutions and point of view help us assist our clients in shaping their Gen AI and agentic strategies. So in short, my role kind of blends engineering, delivery leadership, technical mentorship, and a pinch of innovation, with a focus on building intelligent systems that move the needle for both our clients and for us internally as well.
Great, that's really insightful, and thank you for sharing, your journey till date, and of course your experience and your contributions clearly extend beyond daily responsibilities, and especially when it comes to shaping long-term strategy and building future-ready teams. Moving ahead, I think talking about agentic AI, it has definitely emerged as a transformative catalyst and empowering businesses to accelerate process automation at scale. Unlike conventional AI models based on predefined rules, agentic AI is built to act autonomously, adapt to different scenarios without explicit training, making intelligent decisions, and even setting its own objectives. So, in your view, why do you think now is the right time for organizations to adopt agentic AI?
A great question, Priya. So let me also start with the basic, right? So an AI agent is like a smart assistant, right? It can understand a goal and complete a specific task for you, whatever you prompt, and then you get some output from an agent, right? Now, imagine a team of such agents working together across different phases of a complex project, right? Coordinating, learning, adapting on their own, and memorizing the previous mistakes they have made and correcting it on the next time, right? That's kind of the agentic AI, or a system of intelligent agents that collaborating to achieve outcomes with minimal human guidance is what we are talking about, right? Now, coming to why is the right time, because we traditionally, if you look at IT services, right, it's been very human intensive, relying on large teams with manual and some bit of automation process. Many firms out there have built their models around cost optimization. So, but that approach is kind of reaching its limits. Agentic AI is flipping that script, right? So we are now moving towards AI first operating models that don't just automate the task, but actually has the ability to think, decide, and act, often better and faster than the humans in certain contexts. So at Publicis Sapient, for our own internal initiatives and for our clients, we are actively replacing repetitive, high-effort workflows with AI-powered automation that scales, improves quality, and free up times for our team members to focus on higher value of work. So, for example, in one of our recent engineering accelerators, right, we deployed an agentic workflow that go and analyze or fetch a PR repo or a Git code repo from the GitHub, and then it automatically analyze the code base, identify the unit test case gaps it has, and then agents will generate those missing test cases, and then another agent will again validate that and run it and compile it and making sure that everything is fine, and then raise a PR for human to actually evaluate these generated test cases are good or not, right? So this actually help us to raise the code coverage from 30% to almost 80 to 100% with zero manual test script generation or effort. So that's not just productivity, that is actually transformation. That is what is happening right now. So this is all possible because of the maturity of large language models, and multi-agent framework has finally caught up with the enterprise demands and needs. Now combine that with the great infrastructure available right now, real-time data pipeline availability within the organizations, and great REST API infrastructures and explainability tools. We are at a perfect inflection point where agentic AI can be adopted, right? And now add that to the current business climate where every organization is being asked to do more with less. So agentic AI become not just an opportunity, but then it's becoming a necessity for the orgs to adopt so that they can bring in that efficiency and scalability into the day-to-day operations as well, right? So if a business is gaining edge in speed and personalization and operational efficiency, why not, right? So I believe this is the right time to every organization to actually start looking agentic AI into their workflows as a serious potential adoption point.
That's such a compelling perspective, and it really drives home how agentic AI isn't just another tech trend, but paradigm shift that I think it in how work gets done. What's fascinating is how it brings autonomy to digital workflows, turning static tools into dynamic collaborators that can reason, decide, and even adapt based on context. So, let's stay on that thread of collaboration and evolution for a moment. If we talk about AI, I think from practical applications to supporting bold visions, AI tools offer end users opportunities to explore territories where human insight and AI capabilities can converge. Now, innovators who prepare their people, processes, and platforms for AI are leading the example for their peers in transforming their culture to be AI ready. Of course, establishing a level of readiness involves a comprehensive evaluation of your data management practices, your current IT infrastructure, your personal team, and organizational culture. And I think the list is never ending. So, we want to understand from you, Sajan, what are some of the core parameters that organizations should consider in terms of determining whether they have successfully adopted AI in the enterprise or not?
Yeah, so this is one area that's often overlooked as well, right? So successful AI adoption in any enterprise isn't just about plugging in a model. And actually, when the Gen AI started, right, every organization was in search for that perfect large language model that works for them, right? But then today, that's not really the case. So there are now everybody is looking at multi-language models where because every model has its own strength and weakness as well. And so eventually what we realized at Publicis Sapient is that there are 5 core parameters that can help us to achieve a successful adoption, right? And it starts from the leadership sponsorship, right? So if executives are believing that AI can actually revolutionize their organizations and their enterprise strategy, and when they supports it, right, AI initiatives scale faster because then it's not treated as a side project, right? It aligns closely with their strategic priorities, their budgeting, and their roadmap for the next couple of years, so that they can actually see value coming out of it, right? The second important aspect is cultural alignment. So when teams are empowered to experiment, learn, and collaborate across tech and business, right, together, generally magic happens. And this is not just for any AI adoption, but for any project as well, right? So organization where there is strong cultural alignment towards innovation, generally seen adoptions becoming much easier. The third one is infrastructure maturity, right? So you need scalable cloud, you need real-time data pipeline, and you need a stronger API driven architecture to make AI operational across the business. Because end of the day, when you implement agentic AI solutions, it needs to interact with your multiple departments and multiple solutions, right? So those important to have scalable APIs, important to have proper infrastructure and network setups and accessibility within the organization for data for this adoption to be successful. And the most important one is the data readiness, right? Because end of the day, AI is only as good as the data it learns from. So clean, labeled, well-governed data is very essential for the success of these projects. Poor data quality, perhaps the number one reason for initiatives actually fails. And then the last one would be having a responsible AI mindset, right? Because end of the day, AI hallucinate a lot. So transparency, fairness, explainability, all these things need to embed it into every phase with human in the loop evaluation, right? Because end of the day, you don't want to give a complete automation to begin with. You would actually want some balances, checks and balances in place so that you have data and you have traceability within the system to ensure that the AI outcomes are actually following the compliances and your organization's regulations. So to give an example, right, when we recently worked with a global travel and hospitality platform to redesign their vacation rental search, instead of a traditional search with some filters on the left side, what we did is we just created a search box where a user can come and search for, I am looking for a cozy 2-bedroom villa near the beach with a private pool. Right now, behind the scene, this actually required aligning across all these parameters I was talking about. Right, the data has to be labeled well. There has to be a scalable infrastructure with proper REST APIs available. And then close business tech collaboration is required to convert this idea and strategy into a great user experience. And then on top of it, an executive sponsorship and a leadership team that foresee the value in such innovations and a ethical framework to ensure that fair property recommendations, without revealing too much detail, but at the same time revealing everything a user is looking for at the right moment during that conversation happens on the web page, right? So that's the kind of transformation AI can unlock, but if you get the foundations right.
Yes, I completely agree with you, and thank you for giving such an insightful overview and discussing the core parameters that organizations should consider in terms of successful AI adoption. And what's really interesting is how the conversation is shifting from can we use AI to how do we scale it responsibly and effectively across the enterprise. So I think it's a powerful reminder that AI isn't just an IT initiative; it's a business transformation enabler, but only when it's done right. So moving ahead, when we are talking about agentic AI, right? So when fully realized, I think today agentic AI will profoundly impact how we work. It can free up employees from mundane tasks and allow them to focus on creative, complex, yet innovative work that drives higher ROI with investments. Now, the Stanford 2024 AI Index report indicates that 55% of global organizations now use generative AI in at least one business functions since OpenAI launched ChatGPT in 2022. Now, a company that adopts agentic AI will definitely gain a competitive advantage in innovation, efficiency, and of course responsiveness while becoming more agile in its operations. So, investments in AI agent projects are expected to yield orders of magnitude in ROI and business value as long as companies select high impact use cases. So, how do you evaluate ROI and business impact when adopting agentic AI systems?
Yeah, actually, this is every business leaders and enterprise leadership should ask before investing in AI, right? When it comes to evaluating ROI for an agentic system, we should look at the impact that can cause across 5 different dimensions within the org, right? So the first one would be operational efficiency, right? How much time are we saving? Are we reducing repetitive manual effort? Because agentic AI can automate everything from report generation to test case coverage analysis, freeing teams time to focus on the higher value work. The second aspect is the cost saving, right? By minimizing human intensive tasks, AI directly reduce operational cost. So for example, in IT service management, autonomous agent can triage and resolve incidents without needing large support teams, right? Because when a new issue comes, autonomous agent will also go back and check the history of issues and figure out patterns. And then based on that patterns has the ability to predict potentially this could be the problem and this could be the solution, right? Then all you need is a human in the loop to validate that, right? Traditionally, it would have taken a lot more time for a human to actually go and research all the previous existing tickets and then find out the root causes or potential issues, right? Similarly, on the customer experience, right? Faster response time, personalized recommendation, and context-aware interactions improve customer satisfaction, and that translates into revenue impact. For example, on the financial service side, like when a customer is logging in to his savings account, right? And if you can just give him a personalized message, say, it could be something as simple as, hey, your expenditure on this month has been slightly higher than the previous month, and you may have to mindful about your upcoming payments for your EMIs, right? And that message is actually coming from ML, which is learning your spending habits and then also figuring out your trends on future pending payments, and then combining all this aspect to show some value with respect to end of the day, that is perceived as customer experience, right? And then the next one is scalability and resilience, right? So agentic system don't get tired or slow down during scale, right? So we measure how well the system performs across different geographies or business unit and how adaptable they are in changing conditions. And the next one would be risk mitigation. AI can actually reduce business risk by catching risk and issues in early in the cycle. For example, even at the cyber security, right? We could actually use AI and ML to predict issues in advance to improve compliances, security loopholes, and minimizing human error in critical process. So another example I can think of is, again, how do you figure out ROI, right? In one of the current solutioning I am working on, we are trying to automate the transformation of data for campaign launches. Previously used to take 2 to 4 weeks of effort into days using agentic AI automation, right? So the agentic AI will read the requirement document, understand the input data, then learn about the output data required for the campaign to launch, and then transform that data into required format based on various instructions. And also there is human in the loop interaction provided at various stages, and the end result is actually weeks of manual plus automation effort now combined into few days, enabling the team to actually work on more multiple campaigns, and this is all measurable ROI right there in front of you, because there is operational efficiency and there is cost savings, and then there is developer experience improved, right? So ROI is in agentic AI is not just about the cost, but it's about smarter operation, better experiences, and leveraging stronger business outcomes that helps you to do more with less.
Definitely. Again, that's a very insightful breakdown, and it's clear that with agentic AI, the traditional methods of ROI evaluations are also evolving. So we are no longer just measuring the time saved or cost saved or the head count reduced. I think what we are looking at in terms of ROI evaluation is about the quality of decisions, the speed of adaptability, and even how well the system aligns with a strategic intent. So I think it really challenges leaders to rethink what value creation, looks like in the AI era. Now, in one of the earlier responses, Sajan, you mentioned about that AI, AI also has this tendency of hallucinating, and it's important that we think from the ethical and regulatory perspective as well. Now, we have rapidly embraced the rise of agentic AI, and with good reason. I think this emerging technology represents a powerful leap forward in the evolution of AI, and it is promising to redefine how we approach automation and decision making. Yet, as with any groundbreaking innovation, it's crucial to examine not just its potential, but also its ethical dimensions and long term implications. So, with agentic AI systems making autonomous decisions, how do you ensure that they act within the ethical and regulatory frameworks?
Yeah, that's a very, very important question, right? So when an agentic AI system gains autonomy, we need to ensure that they act responsibly, transparently, and within the legal and compliance boundaries, right? So at Publicis Sapient, for us and for our clients, we embed ethical and regulatory compliance from the ground up. So it's not an option. When we architect or design a solution, we always have the regulatory and compliance layer built before anything that goes out to the consumer, right? We have that layer already built in place, right? So built-in compliance where every system design kind of respect sector-specific regulations such as GDPR, HIPAA, or let's say in India, RBI guidelines, right? So all this compliance layer is very important, right? The next area is continuous monitoring. So we implement real-time telemetry and observability to track how agents are performing, and then we have defined key matrices where we can identify issues at very early stages, we can detect bias, we can identify drift from the expected behavior, and all those things have been tracked and measured in on a live dashboard. And think of it as this entire continuous monitoring as a black box recorder for the AI agent, so we can trace back decisions and course correct immediately, right? The next one is explainability, right? So there are tools like Sharp and Lime that helps you to understand why a machine learning model or an agent took a certain decisions, right? So we will understand that logic behind it and keep an eye on that as well, right? So because those explanations are essential for fine tuning the overall workflow to get better outputs and outcomes, and for also to build trust with both users and regulators. And the next one is the most important one, I would say, human in the loop. Because in high risk areas such as healthcare or financial services, we always have a human in the loops mechanism, right? So it's not a completely 100% autonomous agent to agent conversation where there is always a human agent as well in the loop, because agent will give you a recommended decision, but at the end of the day, human has to make that final call. Agent will do all the job for you, but then like it's like a junior or a bunch of team members working for you and presented some data to you, and end of the day you take the call whether you wanted to go ahead with it or not, right? And then the last one is the governance framework. So we establish a responsible AI governance model that include model documentation such as model cards, version control, traceability audits, and everything. So this ensures accountability across the entire AI lifecycle from training to deployment, right? Now, to give a practical lens, when I talk about all this regulatory framework, think of agentic AI is like a Tesla self-driving car, right? Now, it needs rules of the road on that particular country, right? It's, let's say that is our regulations, right? Then the car got sensors to detect danger, right? So that is the monitoring or the observability I was talking about. And then there is a dashboard to explain what it's doing, right? So that is the explainability part in details. And then there is a human who can take the wheel when case of an emergency, right? So that is the human in the loop or oversight I was talking about, right? So we need to build our AI system with these kind of principles in mind, keeping that, there is always a chance of things can go off the track, right? So that additional layers of compliance and regulatory framework and control in the system is very important.
Well, definitely. And I think that's a very thought-provoking area that we shed light on. And it's really interesting to see how everything is just going beyond technical guardrails. I think it touched down on culture, compliance, governance, and trust. So I think it's not about coding and ethical behavior. It's altogether creating an entire ecosystem where accountability, explainability, and alignment with human values are kind of non-negotiable. Because when AI acts with autonomy, every outcome reflects back on the organization deploying it. So, similarly, I think ethical implementation of agentic AI represents a significant competitive advantage in today's business landscape. And organizations that demonstrate responsible AI practices can definitely build stronger relationships with customers, their internal personnel, mitigate regulatory risks, and even create more sustainable business models. So, having said that, one last question for you, Sajan, is how do you see the evolution of agentic AI in the coming few years, in the coming 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, sure. Right. So this is, again, future prediction on this field is actually very risky because every week things are changing, right? Having said that, the future of agentic AI does looks incredibly promising. I think we are just scratching that surface right now. As we move forward, right, we will see that agentic AI shift from small isolated agents working to become collaborative digital workers embedded across the enterprises, right? And I think two key enablers of this shift will be the MCP infrastructure backbone that is actually introduced very recently for how the agentic workflows and agentic workflows that can operate to external, how can it communicate with external world or with these APIs and everything else. So there are now standards and practices getting into place slowly. Google recently launched A2A, agent to agent collaboration, which is basically when one agent from one enterprise talk to internally within the same agent, or even if it talks to other agent outside the enterprise, right? What does that format looks like? What does that standard looks like, right? So there is a lot of rapid changes and developments happening in this industry at this point of time, right? So predicting the future looks a little tricky at this point of time. However, I feel we are moving more and more towards collaborative, completely autonomous where minimal human insights and loop or feedback required kind of a setup is where we are getting into. Agentic AI kind of become evolve into from a task oriented to goal oriented system will become self optimizing agents that will continuously improve the workflows by learning from past actions. And then perhaps business operations will move from process automation to process orchestration by AI, right? So with proper governance and security in place, I think the future would looks like belongs to the AI agents, you know.
Well, definitely. I think the paradigm shift from human driven processes to autonomous agents is born to the digital world. And agentic AI is the next frontier in the AI era, unlocking new levels of autonomy, adaptability, and even intelligence. So I think the future of agentic AI is bringing its potential closer than anticipated, and which is definitely accelerated by rapid technological advancements. So thank you, Sargent, so much for your time and effort in coming on the podcast today and helping us understand that by harnessing the transformative capabilities of agentic AI, organizations can achieve enhanced productivity, efficiency gain, much better customer experiences, and eventually better business outcomes. And definitely, the future looks pretty much promising, waiting for more such eye-breaking and jaw-dropping advancements in the field of AI. So thank you for your time. It was lovely chatting with you.
Thank you so much, Priya. This has been a really engaging conversation. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Sajan. So, this is for our listeners. Stay tuned for our upcoming podcasts, and you can view all our previous podcasts on Spotify and other leading platforms. Stay tuned for our upcoming podcast, and please share with your network if you find that today's episode more insightful. And stay updated, stay curious. Thank you so much.